Welcome to this year's Fully Involved Podcast CE, brought to you by the Texas Commission on Fire Protection and HFD Professional Development. I'm your host, Captain H, and I'm joined by my co-host, Daisy. Together, we'll walk you through the 2024 Annual Injury Report Summary. Every year, we take a hard look at this report because it matters. The data isn't just numbers. It's about us, our crews, and the risks we face every single day. Some trends are encouraging, others are sobering, but all of them are opportunities for us to learn and do better.
That's right. Our goal here isn't just to present statistics. It's to spark reflection, conversations, and actions at every level of the fire service. Whether it's personal habits, station culture, district leadership, or department-wide changes, we all have a role in making safety a 24/7 priority.
So let's dive into the data, talk about what it means for us on the job, and most importantly, what we can do with this information to keep pushing the bar higher for safety and health in the fire service.
So why do we even have to review this report? What's the real purpose behind it?
Good question. Every year, departments across Texas take part in this review, and it's not just to check a box. It actually serves a much bigger purpose that benefits both the state and our department.
First, it helps us find the common culprits. The data shows which injuries and exposures happen most often. That gives us the chance to zero in on problem areas and actually do something about them.
Second, it's about spotting the trends. By looking at patterns, we can see if certain injuries are on the rise, figure out what's causing them, and make changes before things get worse.
Third, the report guides our training. It helps us know exactly where to put our time and energy, what skills we need to sharpen, and what knowledge gaps to close, so we can stay safer on the job.
And finally, it's about improving how we operate. Reviewing this information forces us to take a hard look at our procedures and make the tweaks needed so we're not just reacting to injuries, but actively preventing them.
At the end of the day, this annual review isn't busy work.
It's about keeping us safer, stronger, and better prepared, so that every one of us makes it home at the end of the shift.
All right, let's dive into the 2024 injury report and review the data we've gathered. It's important to compare our numbers here in Texas with the national statistics from across the United States, as reported by the NFPA.
Exactly. When you break it down, three main categories show up both locally and nationally: fireground incidents, non-fire incidents, and other on-duty incidents. The only real difference is the order they appear in, but that alone tells us where our problem areas are.
Right. Now, for clarity, the fireground category includes the Commission's fire suppression and rescue fire-related incidents. The non-fire category covers rescue incidents, non-fire-related, EMS, and hazmat incidents. And then the other on-duty category captures things like fire prevention, station duties, and wellness and fitness.
And when you compare the numbers, the pattern is clear. Locally, other on-duty accounted for 35% of the total, down from 41% the previous year. Nationally, fireground incidents led with 30%, also slightly down from 32%. So yes, we've made some progress, but honestly, we can do better.
Absolutely. And let's not forget fatalities. In 2023, the NFPA reported 89 on-duty firefighter fatalities nationwide, down from 96 the year before. Here in Texas, the Commission on Fire Protection reported 2 fatalities, one from a possible stroke and one from suicide. Sadly, that's the same number as the previous year.
And that really drives it home. Any injury, any exposure, and certainly any fatality is one too many. It's our duty to take these numbers seriously and work toward reducing them collectively.
Exactly. Progress is good, but the goal has to be zero. Let's take a closer look at the overall picture of total injuries and exposures by activity and severity for 2024.
Right. The data is broken into 3 main categories. First, we've got minor. Those are injuries or exposures that didn't cause the firefighter to miss a full duty period.
Then there's serious. These are incidents where the firefighter missed 1 or more full duty periods.
And finally, the most tragic category, fatal.
cases where the firefighter didn't survive the injury or exposure.
This breakdown gives us a clear look at the true impact these incidents had on personnel across Texas.
Exactly. And when we look at 2024 specifically, the top 3 environments where these incidents occurred were during fire suppression activities, EMS activities, and skill training activities.
What really stands out is that while most incidents were minor, skill training activities showed the highest number of serious injuries. And sadly, under fire suppression, we saw 2 reported fatalities.
When you add it all up, the Texas Commission on Fire Protection reported 4,129 injuries or exposures in 2024. That's down from 4,657 the year before.
So yes, the overall number is trending downward, which is good news. But the details show us there's still work to do, especially when serious injuries are happening in training and fatalities are still a reality on the fire ground.
Absolutely. Numbers alone don't tell the whole story, but they do give us the chance to dig deeper and ask the hard questions about where we can improve.
All right, let's take a closer look at the following chart. We'll start with the minor injury and exposure column first.
For the 5th year in a row, EMS activities topped the list here. In 2024, there were 719 minor injuries reported. That's down from 929 the year before, but still, it accounts for about 23% of the total.
Fire suppression activities came in a very close second with 717 injuries. That's up slightly from 677 the previous year and also represents 23% of the overall total.
And in third place, we've got skilled training activities with 517 injuries. That's up from 416 in 2023, making up about 16% of the total.
Now, let's shift to the serious injury and exposure column in the center. Here, skill training actually tops the list with 202 serious injuries, up from 155 the year before. That's 21% of the total.
Fire suppression follows with 181 serious injuries, which is a slight decrease from 190 the previous year. That's 19% of the total. And right behind that, wellness and fitness activities show 171 injuries, up from 149, representing 18%.
Finally, let's look at the last column on the right, the fatal injury and exposure column. This one is sobering. In 2024, 100% of all reported fatalities occurred during fire suppression activities.
That's right. And to put that into perspective, the commission recorded 2 firefighter fatalities in 2024, both of them during firefighting operations.
And it's important to mention the Texas State Fire Marshal's Office report, dated October 2024. They investigated 4 firefighter fatalities during fiscal year 2024. 2 of those were within volunteer departments, which aren't regulated by the Texas Commission on Fire Protection.
Those numbers highlight a tough reality. Whether in a regulated department or a volunteer one, the risks are real. And that's why prioritizing firefighter health and safety across the board isn't just important, it's essential.
All right, moving along. Let's take a look at where these injuries actually occurred during emergency activities versus non-emergency activities.
On the emergency side, the majority happened during fire suppression, 900 incidents to be exact. Right behind that, emergency medical services accounted for 865 reported injuries. And in third place, rescue operations that weren't fire-related added another 131 injuries.
Now, shifting over to non-emergency activities, the numbers tell a different story. Skilled training came in first with 719 reported injuries. Station duty activities followed with 626, and wellness and fitness activities were close behind with 593.
So whether it's out on a call or back at the station, injuries are happening in both worlds.
Exactly. And the reality is, many of these are preventable. With the right precautions, strong situational awareness, and sticking to safety protocols, we can bring those numbers down. We are making progress, but let's dive into the types of injuries graph to see what the numbers tell us.
The top 3 injury types really stand out. Leading the list are skeletal injuries. They make up 65% of all reported cases. That's 2,327 in total, which is actually down about 1% from the previous year.
In second place, we've got other injuries. Unfortunately, we don't know the type. Great. With 399 cases reported.
And rounding out the top 3, penetrating injuries. There were 344 reported cases in 2024, accounting for about 10% of all injuries.
So while skeletal injuries dominate the numbers, the presence of penetrating and burn injuries reminds us that the risks are varied, and each type carries its own challenges for prevention and treatment. Next up, let's take a look at the task at time of injury graph. This one highlights the specific activities firefighters were performing when those injuries occurred.
At the top of the list for tasks being performed at the time of injury is the category labeled Other with 733 incidents. While the lack of detail in this category doesn't provide much insight, we'll acknowledge it and move forward.
The second most common task linked to injuries was physical fitness activities, with 530 injuries. That's a reminder that even when we're working to stay, health risks are still present. That's one reason I don't work out personally. Just joking.
And in third place, providing EMS care or patient care with 481 reported injuries.
What this shows is that risks exist across a wide variety of tasks, not just on the fire ground, which really reinforces the need to prioritize safety in everything we do.
Exactly. Whether it's using proper lifting techniques on EMS calls, practicing smart habits during workouts at the station, or wearing full PPE on fire suppression runs, every precaution matters.
And the reality is, safety isn't just an individual effort. We all have to do our part to look out for ourselves and each other. Let's shift gears and look at injuries based on the specific parts of the body affected. This data is really important. It helps us identify which areas are most at risk, so we can focus on safety measures, equipment improvements, and training that better protect those vulnerable spots.
The numbers tell the story. The most frequently injured area is the upper extremities, with 994 reported cases. That's up slightly from 975 the year before. Right behind that are the lower extremities, with 892 injuries, up from 882. And coming in third, the back, with 583 injuries, also up from 547.
Now, when we dig into the subcategories, the picture gets even more interesting.
Exactly. At the top of that list, hand injuries, with 366 cases. And yeah, ouch, that one hits home.
Next up are knee injuries with 364. That's a tough blow, literally and figuratively.
And then we've got shoulder injuries at 330. Yikes, that's no small deal either.
What this tells us is that while broad categories like upper extremities are important, zooming in on the details really shows where we're most vulnerable.
And that's the key. Using this breakdown to create targeted training and safety strategies so we can reduce risks in the areas that take the hardest hits.
All right, let's move on to something a little different. The data on individuals by age group. This one breaks everything down by age brackets, which can show us some interesting trends about who's more likely to get injured.
Hold up. Before you get too serious, I just want to point out that my age group won first place last year. And guess what? For 2024, we're Texas champions again. Back-to-back winners right here.
I hate to break it to you, but you might want to read the fine print at the bottom of the chart. This isn't the kind of championship you want. This chart shows which age group is more of a liability.
Wait, so you're saying my victory is basically proving I'm a bigger liability? Great. Just great.
Pretty much. Here's how it breaks down. If you're between 50 and 64, you're sitting comfortably in third place, about 15% of the total.
All right, not too bad. Respect to the veterans holding it down.
Now, if you're 25 to 34, you've claimed the second spot with roughly 34% of the total.
And then, drum roll please, our proud champions, the 35 to 49 crowd. That's us. Over 42% of the total, though hey, down from 44% last year, so technically we're slightly less of a liability now.
Congratulations, champ. Looks like all that experience is coming with a price tag.
Yeah, the price of Advil, ice packs, and sorebacks. But hey, I'll take the title. Champions 2 years in a row, even if it's not the kind of trophy I want on my shelf.
Careful what you wish for, because apparently age really is more than just a number. All right, let's keep it moving. The next chart we're looking at is activities individuals were doing that resulted in lost time. This one focuses on the tasks or actions that led to injuries severe enough to keep firefighters off duty. By studying this, we can really see where the biggest risks are and where we need to tighten up safety, training, and procedures.
Yeah, and I still can't believe my age group turned out to be the biggest liability in the last chart. But I guess we've got to move on. So here's what the data shows. The number one cause of lost time injuries came from skills training activities. There were 134 incidents, and on average, each one cost about 43 days away from the job. That added up to roughly 5,851 total days of missed work.
That's a big number. And what about the next category?
Second place goes to wellness and fitness activities with 102 incidents. Each one averaged 40 days of lost time, which totaled about 4,181 days overall.
And then we've got fire suppression in third, with 103 incidents. Those injuries averaged 36 days missed per case, adding up to 3,736 total days.
That's what stings, getting sidelined from fitness injuries. We're trying to stay in shape, but those workouts are still knocking people out of commission.
Exactly. And it shows how no matter what we're doing, whether it's training, fighting fire, or even exercising, injuries can happen.
Which makes the takeaway clear. We've got work to do to bring these numbers down. And it starts with keeping safety front and center every single time.
All right, I guess we can go the extra mile and break this down by the actual days missed due to specific activities. Looking at the data this way shows not just how often injuries happen, but how long they keep firefighters off the job.
Exactly. And when we start with absences between 1 and 30 days, here's how it looks. Skill training leads with 89 incidents, averaging about 12 days missed per case, which adds up to around 1,113 total days. In second place, fire suppression duties with 71 incidents, averaging about 11 days each, for a total of 836 days. And in third, station duty activities with 69 incidents, also averaging about 11 days, totaling 810 days.
So that's the short-term picture. What about the medium-term absences, say between 31 and 90 days?
That's where it gets interesting. Skill training is still on top with 26 incidents, averaging about 46 days missed each, totaling around 1,216 days. Wellness and fitness comes in second with 22 incidents, averaging about 51 days each, adding up to 1,133 days. And in third, EMS with 18 incidents, averaging 56 days each, totaling 1,012 days.
I'm definitely starting to see a pattern here.
Yeah, and it continues when we look at the long-term absences, 91 days or more. Skill training again takes first place with 19 incidents, averaging about 185 days each, for a total of 3,522 days missed. Wellness and fitness follows with 13 incidents, averaging 173 days, adding up to 2,253 days. And then station duties with 10 incidents as well, averaging 196 days each, for a total of 1,964 days.
So, to sum it up, the longer the recovery time, the more skill training and wellness fitness activities show up as the drivers behind those extended absences.
Exactly. It's a clear reminder that even the activities designed to prepare us or keep us healthy can become the ones sidelining us the longest if we don't approach them with safety first.
Up next, we've got the chart on types of injuries resulting in lost time. These are the kinds of injuries that are severe enough to keep a firefighter off duty, whether it's for medical recovery, rehab, or other factors. It's a clear look at the impact these injuries have, not just on the individual, but on their ability to do the job.
Right. And leading the way are skeletal injuries, with 402 cases reported. That's by far the most common type when it comes to lost time.
Coming in second, we've got other injuries. Unfortunately, we don't know the type of injury, with 35 cases.
And rounding out the top three, penetrating injuries, with 32 cases reported. So once again, skeletal injuries dominate the numbers, but the presence of penetrating and burn injuries reminds us that the risks we face are varied and can have serious consequences for time away from duty.
Exactly. Each of these categories represents time lost, training interrupted, and staffing impacted, which is why prevention and recovery strategies are so critical. All right, moving on to burns. Ouch! Let's break down the types of burns firefighters faced.
Leading the pack are heat, fire, or thermal burns, with 97 reported incidents. No surprise there, that's the most common type we see.
In second place, we've got scald or steam burns, with 21 incidents.
And lastly, chemical burns tied with electrical burns, both rounding out the top three with 6 incidents each. So those are the big categories when it comes to burns.
But if we dig a little deeper and look at burns by body part, the picture shifts. At the top of the list are the hands, with 25 incidents. And yeah, hands getting burned? Ouch!
Next is one that might make you wince, the ears. Yep, you heard that right. 23 burn incidents to the ears.
And next is the upper body, with 15 reported incidents. That's definitely a sensitive area to get injured.
Hands, upper body, ears, burns don't discriminate, and every one of those hits hard in its own way.
Up next, let's talk about exposures. Those situations where firefighters come into contact with hazardous substances or environments that could cause harm. We're talking chemicals, smoke, heat, biological agents, or any other dangerous conditions we run into on the job.
Right. And just to be clear, exposures doesn't always mean someone was injured right then and there. It's about tracking when firefighters are put at risk, because even without an immediate injury, the long-term health effects can be serious.
Exactly. And in 2024, there were 748 exposures reported in total. Looking at the top three, in third place, tuberculosis, with 63 reported exposures. In second place, a chemical not listed, 67 cases. That's never a good thing. And in first place, blood exposures, with 75 incidents.
Yeah, that's a red flag right there. It tells us we really need to tighten up on PPE use and precautions.
Another critical factor here is the route of exposure. Leading the way with 404 cases is inhalation. That's hazardous substances being breathed in through the nose or mouth, affecting the respiratory system.
In second place, absorption through the skin with 245 cases. Then we've got injection or puncture exposures, 67 cases where harmful substances were introduced through a puncture wound or needle stick. And finally, ingestion with 34 cases, hazardous substances swallowed and entering the digestive system.
Each of those routes has its own unique risks, and each one demands specific safety measures.
And there's one more piece we can't ignore, the physical state of the exposure substance. In first place, we've got gases and vapors, with 303 incidents. Second, liquids, with 248. And third, solids, with 199.
That detail really matters because the way we protect ourselves and the way we respond depends a lot on whether we're dealing with a gas, a liquid, or a solid.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, understanding exposures in this much detail is what helps us improve safety protocols, reduce risks, and protect firefighters long term.
With extreme caution, we need to talk about something very serious: cancer. In 2024, a total of 100 cancer diagnoses were reported by departments across Texas to the Commission. That's up from 91 the previous year.
Yeah, and when we break it down, the numbers are eye-opening. Skin cancer leads the way with 50 diagnoses. That's both male and female firefighters, making it by far the most common. After that, we see prostate cancer with 12 cases and a type not reported or other with 8.
There were also other reported cases: testicular with 7, blood and lymphatic cancers with 6, thyroid with 5, and colon and rectum with 3.
And honestly, those numbers are alarming. The prevalence of skin cancer, especially, but also prostate and testicular cancers, really drives home the need for vigilance.
It's more important than ever to keep up with yearly physicals and to make sure these diagnoses continue to be reported to the Commission. Awareness and proactive health monitoring are critical if we're going to get ahead of this issue.
Absolutely. And speaking of physicals, have you done yours yet this year? They're free, no excuses. I'm signing up for mine right after we post this CE.
Good move. Hopefully that reminder gets a few more people to book theirs too. In 2024, there were 22 injuries attributed to fire protection personnel failing to follow their department's standard operating procedures, whether you call them SOPs, guidelines, or protocols. And most of those cases involved firefighters not wearing their issued PPE, or SCBA, in situations where it was required. That's tough to hear because these are avoidable injuries.
Yeah, and when we break it down by activity, the top 3 stand out. In first place, fire suppression, with 6 minor and 6 serious incidents, totaling 12 incidents. In second, emergency medical services, with 5 minor incidents. And in third, station duties, with 1 minor and 2 serious incidents. It's a pretty clear reminder of why following SOPs matters in every single area of operations.
Now, let's take it a step further and look at injuries tied directly to PPE and pass failures.
Leading the list again is fire suppression, with 21 incidents, 16 minor and 5 serious. In second place, skills training, with 6 incidents, 5 minor and 1 serious. And in third, emergency medical services, with 2 minor incidents, tied with station duties with 2 minor incidents also. That adds up to 31 total incidents connected to PPE and pass failures.
Which shows us that this isn't just about policy, it's about making sure the gear is used and working as intended.
Exactly. Following SOPs and doing full operational checks on our equipment and gear, it's more than just a box to check. It's what keeps us safe and make sure we go home after the shift.
On behalf of the Texas Commission on Fire Protection and HFD Professional Development, thank you for taking the time to complete and review this information. Your commitment to continuous learning is what drives the fire service forward and helps ensure we all return home safely.
As we wrap up the 2024 Annual Injury Report Summary, the Texas Fire Commission has a few key recommendations and reminders we all need to keep in mind to strengthen safety across the state.
First, find a way to capture the number of retirees who report cancer diagnoses. That's a critical piece of the bigger picture.
Second, encourage every firefighter to get a comprehensive annual physical exam in accordance with NFPA 1582.
Third, make sure all cancer diagnoses are reported through the injury reporting application in FIDO, along with all suicides the fire department becomes aware of.
Fourth, read and understand the latest editions of NFPA 1970 and NFPA 1850, since both directly impact PPE and SCBA.
Fifth, capture time in service on all injury reports.
And sixth, capture detailed data on work schedules, including which part of the shift a firefighter was injured.
Your role in putting these recommendations into practice is invaluable. Together, we can build a safer, healthier fire service for everyone.
Thank you for listening to this fully involved Podcast CE episode with my co-host, Daisy. We both hope you learned something valuable. That wraps it up until next year. Reviewing this report to build this CE has once again been an eye-opener for me. Some things are out of our control, and that's understandable. But there are also plenty of things we absolutely can control, or even prevent altogether. The real question is, what are we doing at the personal level, at the station level, at the district and quadrant level, and across the entire city as a department, to make safety a true priority 24 hours a day. Let's challenge ourselves to do better. Let's hold each other accountable. And let's keep pushing the bar higher, because safety isn't just a checkbox. It's a culture we build together.
Thanks again for joining us on the Fully Involved podcast. Stay safe, stay sharp, and we'll catch you on the next one.